Hey there, welcome back to the conclusion of section 9.1 from unit 9 on inheritance. So today we're going to talk about really what does the inheritance aspect mean? Like what is it that gets inherited? In the previous video we talked about the relationship or like just the general idea why, what does it mean for these things to be related in an inheritance way so that this class is a subclass of another superclass. And today we're going to get into more of the programming aspect of what parts of the class actually get inherited. So hopefully you have your football player example up from yesterday's video. If you recall, we made a couple of football player objects. I think I'm going to change this uh, back to lineman just to avoid confusion for right now. Um, we'll talk about the whole uh, left side, right side thing later on. Go into more details on that, but for right now, we'll just leave it at that. So when we're using inheritance, usually we'll have multiple classes, uh, multiple subclasses of one superclass. So right now we just have a general football player class. We have a more specific lineman class. Let's go ahead and make a more specific uh, defensive player class. There's all kinds of defensive players in football, and so we will be making some of those specifically in a bit here. Public class defensive player. Now, what is the main job of a defensive player? To tackle an offensive player. So we are going to be keeping track of how many tackles a player collects. So this instance variable is specific to defensive players only. Football players don't have that property. Defensive football players do. Okay. So we'll make a method called tackle. Just as an example so that we can use methods on each of our objects that we make. So let's say that when we tackle, make it sound, let's say, gotcha. And again, I'm just going to be filling in some silly stuff here like this, so that we can run our program and you can see what methods can be called on which objects. Now, like I mentioned, there's all kinds of different defensive players on a football team. One of them specifically is called a linebacker. So we're going to make that class linebacker.java. And I'm really just going to leave that class empty for right now, okay? Now, going back to football player. We have a constructor for football player, and the point of that constructor was to show you that whether we make a linebacker, a lineman, a defensive player, they are all football players. So this line of code is going to get executed regardless of what kind of football player we make. But today I want to make a couple more actual methods for this football player class. So we're going to make a couple of setters, all right? So we're going to go set weight and set speed. And then one more. Let's make a run method. Oh, and I forgot my return types. All these setters are always void. So let's say that when a football player runs, they go huff, huff, puff. Right? All right. So again, just some silly methods. Really, the point here is so that you can see what is available to for each of the different kinds of objects. So we're going to go back to main. Now that we have all those methods created, we right now we have a general football player and a couple linemen. Let's make a defensive player. Let's make a linebacker. Okay. So what can a football player do? We can go F1 dot, and of course you see all the um, oops, you see all the stuff that gets inherited from the object class, like dot equals. We've talked about that in the past. ToString. All these methods exist already, and they are inherited because all classes are derived from the object class. But of course, we have additional methods now, run, set speed, and set weight, that are available to all football players. So let's set the speed of this football player to 5, whatever. Now we go to our lineman. Remember, in our lineman class, we have really nothing other than an extra property. We could, of course, write a getter for that property. Let's go ahead and do that right now. Public and get pancakes. Oh, that sounds like a delicious method. Am I spelling pancakes right? It looks weird. All right, so back to main. So when we bring up our methods for our linemen, we have get pancakes is there. We have our run on our set speed and our set weight. This is really like the big thing for this lesson. Those methods are, what's the word? Very good. Inherited from the football player class because a lineman is a football player. So let's have this lineman run. All right, just a couple more examples. Our defensive player can um, tackle. Ooh, where's all my other methods? I forgot something, didn't I? What did I forget? Why doesn't my defensive player have the ability to run and have a speed? Let's see what's wrong with my defensive player class. Oh, that's right. I forgot the keyword here. What keyword is that I need to add to this to make a football player? Extends. Defensive players are football players. But what are linebackers? What is a linebacker? A linebacker is a defensive player. Okay. So now when we go back to our defensive player, Aha, we can set their weight, we can set their speed, and we could run. And if we go to our lineman, no, sorry, our linebacker, remember our linebacker is a defensive player. What can our linebacker do? Not much. What's going on here? No, there they are. Just hadn't caught up with me, I guess. So a linebacker can tackle. A linebacker can set their weight, set their speed, because a linebacker is a defensive player, so they can tackle. And a linebacker is a football player, so they can run and do all the other things that football players can do. Okay? So the lesson here is that all these methods, emphasis on the word methods, we're going to talk about constructors in our next lesson, but all these methods are inherited by the subclasses. Okay? So if you have questions on this, I'll be holding office hours from 12:30 to 1:30 every day. Hop onto Google Hangouts. It's real low key. Um, you might be the only person there. Who knows? Um, but you can ask questions. Very much encourage you to go explore the examples on Code HS and 9.1 because they've got some good ones there, and you can just hit play and kind of just poke around and see what's going on. All right. Okay. I will see you all tomorrow.